welcome to another episode of
80-Bit Podsmash,
Where Gaming Goes to Grab a Beer. We are your hosts, Termite and
Penguin.
And tonight we are going to talk about the next generation of video games.
The next generation of video game consoles, specifically.
Yes,
So-
and in case you don't know who we are a weekly gaming podcast centered around the ideas of culture, art, politics, sometimes science, smashing those ideas together with video games.
Yeah, I like to think of it as intellectual conversations about games.
And tonight we are drinking the legendary, the renowned, the yearly, annual, it's that time of year, folks, pumpkin ale
It's fall, y'all.
from Dogfish Head.
It's fall, y'all. I don't even care. I don't care about those haters who are all like,
Oh, when this
"You
releases, it'll be fine.
you don't drink your pumpkin spice lattes yet, or you can't get excited for Halloween because it's still September. It's too early." No, none of that. September is a butt month, and there's nothing good that happens in September. It's when school starts. It's still hot in Virginia. It's gross, and it still feels like a summer month.
Yeah,
and usually there's no holiday. Usually Labor Day lands in August. So
nope, Labor Day's always
fortunately. Is it always in September?
It's always September.
Okay, well then it's always at the beginning of September. And gets out of the way really quick.
What do you do for Labor Day? It's like Memorial Day is when everything opens. It's the beginning of summer. We're done with winter. Party. It's good cookout weather. It's not too hot yet because it's in May. But Labor Day is supposed to be like the bookend, right?
Right. It's
Memorial Day,
Labor
Day.
It's like the end of summer.
Yeah,
and it's
it's depressing.
everything's closing and all the kids are going back to school. And
so what do you do on Labor Day? What's the thing to do on Labor Day?
Usually people do the last summer cookout.
I guess.
And that's kind of what we did, but it was just so hot. I'm just so sick of it being hot.
Not just hot, but humid.
Yeah.
100% humidity.
You guys, if you don't live in the South, you don't understand. Mm-hmm. It is like breathing an aquarium out there. It is so disgusting. That's why and here, this area too, is like a swamp. I at least grew up in the mountains. I grew up in the valley, Shenandoah Valley, where there's beautiful mountains and rolling hills and stuff. So the air just feels a little bit clearer sometimes. Yes. But here in the swamplands of Central Virginia, it's rough, y'all, but it's okay. I love where I live, and I'm just glad that fall is right around the corner. And I am reminded of that by this pumpkin ale. So don't hate on me for
fall.
Getting pumpkin ale
good.
In September.
I usually get I don't turn my nose up, but I'm just annoyed with the amount of pumpkin ales that are out there in beer world. But Dogfish Head has nailed it. That's my favorite, hands down. But I'm such a Dogfish Head fanboy anyway.
It's true. Yeah, you're kind of it's like your Nintendo of beers.
It is. It was Sam Adams.
Hey,
but I grew up.
Of Nintendo
Direct tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You guys will hear this after the Nintendo Direct has happened. I'm actually kind of excited about non-Smash Bros. Related news. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about the inevitable Smash Bros. Reveal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited to hear more about Mario Party. I'm excited to see if there's going to be any news on Metroid Prime 4 or the new Pokemon game, anything, even just a trailer or a teaser. There's a lot of things to be hyped about more for Nintendo than just Smash Bros. So there's a lot of possible things. And just whatever new games might be coming down the pipe, I'm excited to hear about as well. So
as excited as I was for it, I might have to cancel the pre-order for Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Oh, yeah.
I just might have to go.
Yeah.
For prioritizing budget the rest of the year and knowing what games are coming.
Yeah, so
mainly
many games.
Red Dead and Smash Bros.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of let all the rest go.
Mm-hmm.
Until next year.
That would be wise.
I'll keep Kingdom Hearts 3 on
point.
there. Keep... What do I have next year's games? Kingdom Hearts 3 is the main one.
Days
Metroid
Gone?
Prime 4, Days Gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that pre-ordered, though.
Anthem.
I was going to wait for reviews. Anthem, I don't have that pre-ordered either.
Yeah, I don't have either of those
pre-ordered.
I'm super
everything.
excited about it. Yeah. But anyways, let's talk. Let's get our Smash. I want to do just some quick predictions. I want you to predict 3 characters.
Okay.
Like your 3 predictions, so they can be even if they only announce one character, obviously
can they be
if you
echoes?
get any of them. Yeah, they can be Echo
Those are probably
fighters.
easy grabs because other people in the industry have already talked about them and I'm just on board.
Yeah,
but
well, I think all of mine too are things that people have talked about, but still. Okay.
As an Echo character to Ryu. Dixie Kong as an Echo character to Diddy Kong.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a brand new character would be, and I had it in my head, but now it's gone. They did K. Rool. I can't believe it did King K. Rool.
That's awesome. They got him back. He hasn't been in a Donkey Kong game since Rare pulled.
There are. This is going to be a get hype moment, so a long stretch.
Okay.
Gino from Mario RPG.
That has been actually that has been from what I've seen, on the Smash Bros. Subreddit and the Nintendo Switch subreddit. That's been one that's not only very popular, but people think it's very possible because he's a puppet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
fits the bill.
It fits the well. He would pair very well with Skull Kid, who's another big top prediction because Skull Kid is a puppet master. He uses the little puppet monsters at certain points. So that would be some cool symmetry.
Announce them both
together
as Echo characters.
Exactly. Ooh, yeah, that would be good.
But Gino would be more of an Echo character of Mega Man because he has a arm cannon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or Samus, which Gino is not the same size as either one of them or body makeup, so it doesn't make any sense.
Mega Man, but he could be, or he could be a completely unique character. My predictions. So I'll, since I mentioned him, I'll say Skull Kid. I think there's a lot of possible. I think this might be Skull Kid's time.
As a new character
as
or
a brand new character.
Young Link Echo?
No, not a Young Link Echo. Brand new character. Mm-hmm. Gosh, you already have enough. Young Link's basically already an Echo of
Toon Link.
Of Main Link. So no, please don't. Skull Kid is a brand new character. Another brand new character that they've possibly teased is Isaac. And the reason is because
Golden Sun?
Because they released a picture of the Rathalos and had 4 people fighting the Rathalos, and the way they were lined up is the same as
Fire Emblem
as Golden Sun.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like so they kind of maybe teased that, which is exciting. So yeah, I'd be down for some Isaac, and a Echo character I think is very likely is Shadow the Hedgehog as an Echo character of Sonic.
Yeah. That was another one I was thinking too.
Supposedly there was a leak. Of course, credibility of leaks are always suspect. But supposedly there was a leak that there is one more Square Enix character that's going to be joining.
That could also be
the roster. Oh, is he Square Enix?
Well, Squaresoft made
that's right,
Mario RPG.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But who were you thinking?
I don't know. I would think that because one of the big pieces of evidence that people keep throwing out in favor of a lot of characters, specifically Skull Kid and Gino, and Shadow, is that they're doing a lot of like heroes and villains kind of thing. Like they are adding a lot of villains to the roster from existing titles. Dark Samus, King K. Rool. So one of the theories is that they might do Sephiroth. That's kind of
crazy.
That'd be a big hype, like a second Final Fantasy VII character, not as an echo of. Hopefully not as an echo of Cloud of his own, but still. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I don't know how many they're going to do because it's not a Smash Bros. Specific direct. So I can't imagine they'll reveal more than 2 characters, like 3 tops.
Right.
So we'll see what tomorrow brings, though.
Yeah,
so I am excited about non-Smash Bros. News, but right now it's just so close.
I'm excited about their online service. Getting some online NES going on.
I gotta. That's another thing I got to pay for. It's only $20 for the year, but still, we gotta look at that family plan or whatever.
We should. Or one of us pays $15, so it'd be like $55 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, or it's $35 for the whole family. It might be $35 for the whole family. And
then
that.
we do, but how many switches?
Like 8, I thought.
That'd be awesome because we can split it amongst all of our friends and it'd be super cheap.
It would be very cheap.
That'd be amazing. Cool. All right, so that's enough for like news and stuff to talk about. We're just really excited about Nintendo. Anytime a Nintendo Direct drops, it's like.
And when you guys hear all this, you'll know everything.
Yeah, exactly. Our predictions will seem either like amazing to you or like, wow, that was stupid.
Hashtag Penguin and Termite were right.
Clearly, it was always going to be. Trying to think of some like random character, like Paper Mario. Like, come on, guys, you couldn't predict Paper Mario. It's obviously going to be Paper Mario. Watch it be Paper Mario, right? It's going to sound even sillier. Yeah, it would. Exactly. So cool. That is, let's move on to our first segment then. And doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing.
Favorite things.
Favorite things. It's our first segment of every episode where we catch y'all up on what we're digging this week, what we're into, what is our favorite thing for the week. So you got yours?
Yes.
Okay, because you were like agonizing over it earlier.
I could not remember. Back in the wonderful year of around 1990, I believe it was.
Year of around 1990.
Yeah, I don't my confidence for the year suddenly just dropped. A movie came out, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was live acted using Jim Henson built characters for the Ninja Turtles.
Crazy Uncanny Valley Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Like, amazing movie. And so I watched it again today after having not seen it in years.
Yeah.
So that's going back to our mannerism episode about mannerisms that we pick up.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I picked up from that movie that I was like reminded of. Like, oh, that's where that came from? One of them is April O'Neil goes to talk to this police chief. And the police chief's mad. He's angry. And like, April O'Neil, get in here. And she looks down at her coworker and says, time me. Well, when she comes back out, he goes, 1 minute or 107, a new record. And I say that all the time. A new record for everything.
New record. Nice. Yeah.
So if you're friends with me and you've heard me say that, I've totally got that from Ninja Turtles.
That's awesome. Yeah, I grew up watching those too. So
Michelangelo's on the TV watching April O'Neil, and she says something, and he looks over at Raph and goes, "She called me Mikey."
Oh, yeah, you do say that. I have heard you say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. I grew up watching those, but I was young enough where I still don't remember a lot of them. But my sisters loved them, so we would watch them. So.
Well, it was like, even just from a story perspective of like the evolution of the characters of the Turtles themselves and the stuff that they had to go through with losing Shredder, but it's all Raph's fault. And like, I didn't pick up on any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Raphael went and chased down Casey Jones, and then April O'Neil got jumped in the subway, whom Raphael, still being away from the sewers, rescued April, but grabbed her and brought her to the sewers, their home. Well, a foot soldier followed Raph to the sewers, indicating their location to the Foot Clan, and then they came and kidnapped Splinter. So Raph's completely at fault for the kidnap of their dad, Splinter.
Do you know that...
he's like, anyway, it was just really deep.
Fun trivia fact.
Yeah?
The Ninja Turtles was originally a comic book.
Uh-huh.
And the writer of Ninja Turtles was a huge Daredevil fan.
Uh-huh.
He set, in his mind, his headcanon, he set the Ninja Turtles in the same universe as Daredevil, to the point where the chemical spill that created Daredevil was the same chemical spill that created the Ninja Turtles.
What?
Yeah. And the Foot Clan are a branch of the Hand. Yeah, exactly.
That's
or like
funny.
a competing ninja organization or whatever. So it's
that's cool.
It's their actual...
I like that.
Yeah, the creator intended them to exist in the same universe. It's pretty cool. So even though Ninja Turtles is not a Marvel comic.
Nope.
So, cool.
Well, that was my favorite thing. Is the movie. It's awesome.
Yeah, my favorite thing is also a television / movie, but it's a television show. I might have mentioned this before in earlier favorite things, but I don't care. If it's a repeat, it's going to be a repeat. I love The Great British Bake Off.
The Great British Baking Show?
It's called The Great British Bake Off.
Is it really?
Yeah, in England. It's Netflix changed it to The Great British Baking Show. I don't know why.
What?
But yeah. So.
Huh.
Yeah.
Same people?
Huh? Yep.
Okay.
Well, no.
The hosts.
Actually, the hosts have changed.
Oh.
So the old host, Mel and Sue, they left, and also so one of the judges, Mary Berry, left as well.
What?
I know, yeah.
And it's still good?
It's still good. I still enjoy it
Mary
because it's about
hilarious.
the people, man. It's about it's about the actual bakers themselves, and I don't really. This is the only cooking baking show that I like. I don't know why I like it more than others. Again, maybe it's the people. Maybe it's the little
awesome.
the story, the way they edit it. They're telling a story, and it's a good and everyone's so kind to each other. They help each other out, and they hug each other, and they cry with each other when they. Yeah, it's not I'm the best, and there's no one's ever painted to be a good guy or a bad guy. It's just everyone's. You're just cheering every one of them on because you're so happy when they do well. So I love it. It's a great show.
Me
and I'm surprised I like it too. It was one of those things that surprised me. My wife would turn it on, and I would be playing my Switch, and then I just kind of began to sort of slowly pay attention. And before I knew it, I was like, she made a good signature bake, and now she's leaving the show, and I'm not crying. You're crying. So that's been my journey with the Great British Bake Off. So now there's new episodes, and I'm like, Bake Off. So it's good. So I'm enjoying the season.
It's fun.
Yeah,
makes me want to bake with my wife.
It's also great. It's a great I'm just gonna relax. It's not stressful.
You don't have to be invested.
Yeah, I can look at my phone, and so I'm enjoying it. So I mean, we are getting through it at a surprisingly fast pace, but it's still a relaxing show to watch.
We've only watched the first season. I think we're on the second season, and there's 5.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
There's way more too, apparently.
Oh yeah,
because the show has been going on in
Britain for so
England for so long. Yeah, and
Great Britain, GB.
I guess it's Great Britain's the entire.
Yeah,
it includes
UK.
Ireland.
What about
I think
Brexit?
It's both. Yeah, British exit. Scotland was exiting Britain. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, Britain is the United. It would be the equivalent of United States, whereas Virginia, kind of different though. I don't know.
It's very different. It's very confusing.
Yeah, very confusing. So enough of a geopolitical. Someone online can correct us. They'll be like, no. The UK means this, and
could also
Great
Google
Britain means this. Yeah, but we got a show to do. So that concludes favorite things and moves us on to our next segment, which is DLC. DLC is short for downloadable content. Downloadable content is obviously a play on the more popular downloadable content, but since we are both named Dan, it's more fun if we add up a little pun to it.
And it's hilarious.
Puns are
because
fun.
The DLC costs you guys exactly the same amount that this podcast did.
Nothing. Anyway, so yeah, it's like a little extra discussion, a little sub discussion, something a little more of a fun take on our main topic, or a little fun side conversation that has nothing to do with our main topic. Today's does, and as we mentioned on the onset, we are talking about console generations, specifically the next console generation. So I had a little twist on the conversation that I wanted to add to it, and I want to ask for DLC today. What software/tech company that does not currently have a console, to your knowledge, would you like to see develop a next-gen console? So this could be a company that used to make consoles and no longer does. This could be a company that does not, to your knowledge, make consoles and has never been in the video game industry that suddenly wants to break in and join it. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about like a competitor to the PS4, to the Xbox, like
Microsoft, Sony contenders.
Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah, they're making like a powerhouse console. They want to go for, third-party exclusive
like Microsoft
AAA
did.
Titles. Yeah, exactly, like Microsoft did at the in 1999, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So with the Xbox. So yeah, because growing up, it was all
Nintendo,
Sony,
Sega.
Nintendo, Nintendo, Sega, and then Sony. Yeah, so
And
Sony
Sony
technically
Nintendo.
did it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
exactly.
did.
So it's, sometimes it happens. So if it were to happen in the next generation, who would you like to see it happen with?
I'm going to cheat.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to break your rules.
Okay.
I want Sega to come back.
That's
not cheating?
That's not cheating, because I said it could be. I had Atari in mind, but I was saying like,
oh, they are trying to come back.
Yeah, and
Did
they
you
are.
hear about that?
Mm-hmm, the Atari, yeah. So I can, my rules include companies that used to have consoles and no longer, lost their respective wars and fell out of grace.
Okay, well,
so Sega counts.
I would love Sega to come back with like the next Dreamcast or something. It's like boom.
It would have to have a Sonic game that was like Breath of the Wild, God of War level good. You know what I mean? Like it'd have to be like a recognizable, exclusive. And I don't even know if they have exclusive rights to Sonic anymore, but that's
a
like
software company they do, but
that's like the, in my mind, that's the only thing that could like bring them back in the limelight is like a solid like third party title, or sorry, not third party,
something unprecedented.
Yeah,
you can't even compare it to Sonic Adventure. You can't compare it to Sonic Mania. Like something completely different that just blows our minds, which is what they did with Breath of the Wild and God of War. Like no one could have predicted those games.
Exactly. So that's a good one. I like that. The one I had in mind is I would love to see, maybe I'm too much of a fanboy, I don't know. I would love to see Google like come in hard with the console. Yeah. Like just this badass console that's like
completely integrated with your Google Home.
That's
and
completely
your
integrated with like doing everything that Microsoft wanted to do with the Xbox One, but better because Google's already in everything that you own, you know what I mean? Like not everybody, but that would be sweet. I can imagine they would do awesome with like with a console. Now I don't know. The tricky thing is like there's just so many exclusives, you know what I mean, like that are specific to Xbox, Nintendo, or Sony. So it's hard to really get. That's part of those brands, kind of the goodwill they've built over the years with those recognizable titles. Would be hard, but I think Google could be up to the challenge.
And you have the achievement trophy system, game save, cloud based stuff that like you want to stay in your ecosystem. Yeah, and kind of get you.
Yeah.
Trophies are better than achievements.
Yeah. I would not want to see an Apple console. I don't think they have any interest in that anyways. They're too...
They rumored to.
They're too,
this,
like
Apple
hipster.
Thing. Yeah.
But they're like, too, like, oh, we're hipster. we're hipster Macintosh people. We're not going
There's a lot of people I know that use Macs that are not hipsters.
But they market themselves as that.
They do.
And then the people who actually use them don't end up being like that. Yeah. So,
it's true.
It's the thing. So I wouldn't want to see that, but I would, and I'm interested in Atari's attempts because I would love to see Atari just like come back.
Oh, it's so like, have you read up on that console? What it's supposed to be? They're calling it the LCS based on the original like LCS 2600.
Yeah,
and if you read the description of what they promise, it's basically just a bunch of marketing PR for describing like any sort of computing device. Like it's just it has all the same stuff that Sony and Microsoft and the Switch already do, minus the portability of the Switch. And it's like, where is the market for this?
Right, and who's going to make games for it? Yeah.
And it has, one of the things that it advertised was they wood veneer finish, and it's $300.
Ooh, boy.
Ooh, it looks just like the original one.
Right.
And I guess it has some Atari games preloaded on it, but you can go to Target and get those little like Atari boxes that have all the Atari games on them for like $30.
Exactly.
So anyway, it just didn't seem to have a market.
Right,
and that's out of nowhere, and nothing was like.
That's why I think Google has the like weight. that a company needs to really just like bully people into making games for them, which I think is what is necessary. So that's.
Don't forget the Ouya or whatever it was called. The Ouya, it was like that little Android console that played Android games.
Oh.
So you could connect it to your Google Play account and download your Android games to it and hook it up to your TV with a controller and play cell phone games on your TV.
Yeah, that's not the same.
It bombed. It tanked.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be
so bad I don't even remember the name.
Yeah.
I think it was Ouya, but
yeah,
it's bad.
It's sad because I just think the state of the video game industry is such that like I don't think that anyone would take the risk right now to do that.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Especially the budgets.
Because it's all exactly.
Have gotten so big with games these days, and the exclusives are even nutsier.
Yeah,
that's a word.
Nutsier.
More nuts.
Let's move on then. I think that's DLC for the day. And we will now talk about our main topic. I've titled it, at least tentatively in our notes, I said, All About That Next Gen.
All About That Next Gen.
All About That Next Gen. So we'll start by just sort of talking a little bit about what console generations are. What do we mean when we say console generations? Because to define what has come in the past will help us understand the future.
It's past and current.
Yeah.
Console generations are usually some sort of 5 to 7 year period between hardware releases. There exists an 18 to 24 month window every 5 to 7 or so years. Again, all this stuff is very like averaged and loosey-goosey, but this window is defined by this. If a company fails to release a new console within this window, the new console will be more powerful than older systems, like the Sega did with the Saturn and the Dreamcast, and they're coming out too soon because they're too much more powerful than the older systems. At the benefit of being the best and newest, it's far more expensive for consumers to buy these consoles and developers to create games that utilize it, which is why we see a lot of ports from lesser older systems that are kind of called cross-gen games.
Yeah.
So every 5 to 7 years, a new line of consoles come out that kind of marks a new generation. In the past, we've kind of mainstream defined them like the 8-bit era, the 16-bit era, the 32-bit era, the 64-bit era. That nomenclature's kind of fallen by the wayside.
It has, because now everything's on, 64-bit architecture? Or not 64-bit.
64-bit computer chips.
Right.
I mean, the x86 architecture.
Right, so we kind of,
yeah, it's kind of irrelevant
peaked
now.
in that regard.
Right.
That's no longer...
Yeah, and it's the size of the instructions that run through the process. How many bits can a processor take in one line for instruction? So 8, 16, 32, 64. And there's never been a need for more than 64.
Yeah, exactly. So in that regard, we've peaked. And now it's like, okay, well, how do we then define these? So yeah, there's no real way of defining them. But yeah, I didn't realize, it makes sense when you said it, but I didn't realize there was that sweet spot. That sweet spot where it's like, if you come out too late, then your stuff's going to be too powerful. If you come out too early...
No, if you come out too early, your stuff's too powerful and too expensive.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what the Sega Saturn did, and the Sega Dreamcast. They were ahead of their competitors at the time.
Yeah.
And so they were super expensive, and the games weren't that great except for the first-party offerings.
Yeah.
And then nobody else could develop any games for it, so it flopped.
Yeah.
If you come out too late, that's what Nintendo's kind of doing now.
Yeah.
The Wii, the Wii U, and the Switch were both like half steps.
Yeah.
Like, they all came out between... Like, the Wii didn't have... an HDMI cable or high definition capabilities, and so it looked horrible on flat screen TVs when it came out. The Wii U was supposedly slightly better than a PS3 or Xbox 360, but didn't really show it.
Yeah.
And then the Switch is clearly not as powerful as the PS4 or Xbox One is now.
Yeah.
And it came out after those. So like Nintendo's doing the later end of that window, where Sega had flopped doing the early end of it.
Right, and they're relying on a lot of gambles too to get them their success. So you see it paid off. The motion controls paid off with the Wii.
Right.
The Wii U did not pay off at all.
Nope.
And then the Switch, it was very fortunate that the Switch paid off. It was very fortunate that fortune has, luck, whatever you want to call it, has only so much to do with it, obviously. But so they're smart in what they did and the sort of niche they're trying to fill. But at the same time, like when you're looking at the generations, and you're looking at the, a lot of the success of any given console hardware is the software that's available on it. And looking at that window, we're already seeing that, like, especially if the PS5 and the Xbox Next, whatever you want to call it, come out in the
Xbox 720.
Yeah, and and then when they come out, gosh, I hate it. The next box, we'll call it that. That's the official new term for it that we will have on our podcast until otherwise told. Yeah, whenever those come out, you're going to see game makers want to be making games for that and not want to make them weaker just for the Switch.
Yep.
So, but we'll talk more about that as we go. Do you want to go through these generations that you have listed? Because you did so well with that.
Thank you. So there are 8 console generations. We are currently in the 8th one.
Wow.
Yeah, it seems like a lot more, actually. I would have guessed like 4 or 5. But
that's
there's
what I would
8
guess,
of them.
Yeah.
So the first generation was actually most of the 70s, from 1972 to 1977. And I'm only going to list like a Hallmark console or 2 per generation. I'm not going to go through all of them, because the early 70s, there was ridiculous amounts of consoles that you could buy from all different developers that were all like derivatives of different types of PC stuff, and you can get really nerdy into that. So I'm going to spare you guys for the purposes of our 1 hour long podcast. The first generation, 1972 to 1977, was kind of highlighted by the Magnavox Odyssey.
Okay, I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what it looks like visually. I heard of it. I know that it's out there. The second generation, 1976 through 1983, was the Atari 2600.
Okay.
That's the pre-Nintendo.
Yep, everybody knows that.
Yep. The third generation is when Nintendo first entered the scene at 1983 through 1987. The Sega Master System and Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES.
Also known as the Famicom.
The Famicom.
Did not know that until this podcast. So.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I didn't know that until
you didn't know the NES and the Famicom were the same console?
I didn't know that the Famicom was even a thing.
Really?
So I didn't know that.
It's the Japanese origin.
No, I got you.
You know what it is
I
now.
learned that now after...
Dude, it's short for Family Computer. It was like
that's
named
great.
that way.
That's
because
amazing. That's so cool. It's information I learned within the last year thanks to you and
You're
this
welcome.
podcast.
Hey, you're learning and growing. So then the fourth generation of consoles was 1987 through 1993, highlighted by the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. The fifth generation...
16-bit.
It was.
Which is yours, which is half of our name.
It is.
Or, 16/80ths.
It took 2 numbers to make our name.
16/80ths of our name.
The fifth generation, from 1993 through 1998, was marked by the PlayStation 1's entered into the scene, the Nintendo 64, and the Sega Saturn. Kind of made the 32/64-bit, and I put it that way because the PlayStation's 32-bit, Saturn and 64 are 64-bit. Then the sixth generation is Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Microsoft coming onto the scene. That was 1998 through 2005.
That's crazy. I feel like that's the most players we've had, like most hardware developers we've had in one console generation.
Probably the 1972 to 77.
Oh,
the first gen was the most different types.
But this is like relatively successful. The Dreamcast ended up being the
Sega, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft.
But still, the fact that they released one out,
I have crazy. Magazines that have like all of the logos of the different companies. I'm like, wow, like 4 logos and all the games for all of them. Yeah, it gets crazy. So then Sega died in the 7th generation. In 2005 to 2012, we had the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the Wii. And then the 8th generation, which is our current one from 2012 to now, is the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and Wii U and Switch, because the Switch just came out like a year ago. Yeah,
one could argue that the Wii U was somewhere in the 7th as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you could. Then, like I said earlier,
Nintendo
the Wii U, and the Switch, they're in the middle.
Yeah.
I do want to highlight one of these things, and that was the 2008 economic crisis. The generation with PS3 and Xbox 360 was 7 years.
Yeah.
From 2005 to 2012. Is that even right? 5? Yeah. 7 years. That's one of the longest generations because of that. Apparently, there was a lot of studios shutting down, a lot of downsizing, horrible stuff with our money and economics. I don't know all the details of those things, but it extended that whole cycle of consoles. So yeah, that's what a console cycle is. That's where we are. It's where we've been.
And we're nearing the end of it. At least people think we are nearing the end of it with the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One. It's so crazy. I mean, I just bought a PS4, and it doesn't feel like very long ago that the PS4 came out.
It doesn't now.
I think it was like right around the time, like right before I got married.
2013 was when PS4 came out.
Yeah, so I got married in 2014. So it came out a year before I got married, and I just remember being like, oh man, like Destiny. I remember like trying to think of whether I should get Destiny on the Xbox 360 while I still had it or not, and then eventually deciding not to, and then eventually selling my Xbox 360, which I think was a good move in the end, but still, it was just like, the fact that I was actually sitting there considering that, you know, being like, should I get it on this, essentially what is now the obsolete generation, and then now we're coming up to the end, and it's like, oh, my PS4 feels like it's going to be obsolete soon, so that's going to be interesting.
And we're on the 6th year of the current generation. So the last one was 7 years long, with no mid-step consoles.
Yeah.
Now we have our PS4 Pro and Xbox One X consoles
Yeah.
that have extended this life cycle, and we're on our 6th year, looking at an 8 to 9 year. We'll get there in a minute.
It's crazy.
Cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So then talking about the next generation.
Yeah.
Who do you think the major players are going to be?
It'll be the same. Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft.
Yeah, we kind of hit on that actually in our DLC, where it's
Yeah.
like it's some of the factors surrounding that are like the gaming industry is struggling. It's not doing awful, but it's not doing as well as it did back in the boom. Back in that early to mid 2000s before the 2008 financial
Right.
the recession, if you will.
It's making a swing.
Is it really?
Back.
Is it coming back?
Dude, with Fortnite and
yeah,
80 million PlayStation 4 sold, they're about to outsell the PS3s in 1 year faster.
Well, then maybe it is time for a newcomer to
the
break
Xbox
into the
One,
scene.
like its sales and all the things that are like everyone has posted this year. There was actually like last week, it was posted the first quarter or the past quarter that just happened was like up 30% from year over year before. The gaming industry, and especially with console space, is booming.
That's awesome. That's good because for a while. It looked like mobile games were going to far overtake them. Looks like people want to play. I mean, people want to play games. I guess it just ends at the end of the day. It comes down to what are their gaming habits going to be? Are they going to be people who are playing games on their phones and paying microtransactions? Or are they going to be people who are buying hardware and playing games? And we'll talk more about how the gaming industry might be changing to match some of those where the middle of ground of that demand is.
Yeah.
But I mean, people still want to play games. Gaming itself is not going anywhere.
Nope.
But the industry has.
It's always changing.
It's always changing. Yeah, exactly. Well, but yeah, so no newcomers, just Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft. I mean, that's pretty predictable. They're really well entrenched now. I mean, we're looking at it, and really it's been that way for 3 generations. It's been that way really since 1999 when Microsoft came onto the scene and basically displaced Sega.
Yeah.
And now
that's a good way to put it.
Now they've been kind of entrenched for about 3 generations. So cool. All right, timing? When do you think the next console generations or the next generation consoles will be released?
This is the fun and fascinating question about predictions and speculation.
Yeah.
So I think it would behoove Microsoft to get ahead of Sony, to get out first. So when that will happen, that's probably next year.
Okay.
I'm guessing announcing both companies, Microsoft and Sony, will announce new hardware next year. Around E3 or maybe a Gamescom, or PlayStation will do their PSX. When they announced the PS4, they actually did a special presentation just for it, separately from all the other big conventions. So I can't even say it's going to be at E3 or not. But yeah, I think Microsoft needs to get out ahead of Sony if they want to come up with fists swinging, can't talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Microsoft get out front, get ahead of Sony. All their things that they've kind of been doing since the Xbox One had come out, backwards compatibility, this new Game Pass coming out, subscription service for games, and half-step consoles, knowing that they've announced they're coming out with 2 consoles, announced the 2 consoles, there's a budget version, there's a more expensive enthusiast version. This is all speculation. Get all of that out there. Here's your leasing service that we just had where you spend, $35 a month per next 2 years and you get the console. You get it day one with all of these games. And do that. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think their budget version especially needs to be cheaper than anything PlayStation's offering, anything Sony's offering. They have to be cheaper.
Yeah.
Because they've been knocked for the past, really since the Xbox 360 was, if I remember correctly, that was more expensive than the PlayStation 3, right? Or was it the other way around?
No, PlayStation 3 was extremely expensive.
Okay, so
$600.
since that generation, I know it was only 2 generations ago, but the PS4, the PS4 has been, both the PS4 and the PS4 Pro were cheaper than their Microsoft counterparts.
Yes, when Xbox One came out, it was $500, and it was $100 more expensive than the PS4 because it came with a Kinect, which was controversial because not everyone wanted it.
Exactly.
It's like, make a console that doesn't have it. Well, they did that. That was one of the first corrections they did. They re-released it with $400 price tag, and that was it was too late.
Yeah.
You missed that initial grab. But it was one of the fixes Microsoft made in listening to their players.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're going to announce them in 2019 to be released in 2 years, 2021.
Okay, so you're thinking that next E3 is going to be all about the next gen consoles.
They'll just come out and announce them. I think next year is going to be the teaseriest of teasers.
Yeah.
Where you're not going to get any information about it at all. Just hey, PlayStation 5 is coming. And it's coming in 2021. We'll have more details next year, i.e. 2020.
Yeah.
That's what I'm predicting.
What do you think Nintendo's going to do?
they're going to hang out with the Switch, man. They're blasting. Like, they're rolling in money right now. They're printing money. It's like the number one selling console device, like, out of all of them right now. Yeah. And their games are, like, high charting on the charts over everyone else's games. So, like, Nintendo's just amazing right now. They are happy. They're
definitely happy being in that space where they're like, we know we're not as powerful as the other consoles, and we don't care. We've got our own thing going on.
Yep.
We are tapping into a market that crosses all markets. Like right now, everybody wants a Switch.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a person who plays mobile games all the time. It doesn't matter if you're a person who plays console games. It doesn't matter if you're Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, PC. Everybody wants a freaking Switch.
Yeah.
Because it's just so good.
Yep.
Like, it's just a good console. It's fun to be able to take your games and play them mobily while still being able to dock that thing and have a solid experience.
Yep.
At your home TV.
And letting it charge while you play it on your TV.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was surprised that I played it mobily. I didn't realize there was such a desire in my life to have mobile gaming again. Like, because I haven't had a mobile console since my Game Boy Advance. Wow. And I, even as a kid, I just thought I had grown out of it. I was like, if I'm going to play games, I'm going to play them on my super awesome PC, or I'm going to play them on one of my expensive consoles I just paid money for. And now I'm like, actually, you know what? It's nice playing. It's nice, having an 2-hour car ride and being able to pop open my Switch and
I was never excited for a 9-hour flight before in my life until I had Octopath Traveler on day one playing it. It was amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So speaking of, I guess, maybe that's not as good. Maybe that's not as good.
Maybe you want to ask me why I think the consoles will be announced.
Why do you think the consoles are going to be announced next year?
All right, so the PlayStation 4 came out in 2013. Like I said, it's been 5 years this year, and the generation really started in 2012. That's the weird Wii U situation. But so the PlayStation 4 has been out for 5 years. There have been rumors circulating now that the PS5 dev kits are in the studios now. Sony's first-party studios are showing off games so far ahead of schedule and so advanced, they seem next-gen. Yeah. And I'm highlighting Death Stranding and the Final Fantasy VII Remake specifically. We have Last of Us Part 2, I think, is kind of going to be the PlayStation 4 swan song. Like, it's going to be the last hurrah from Sony. Ghost of Tsushima's still... Like, we don't know enough.
It looks good enough that it could be a PS5 or PS5 launch title. Yeah. I mean, it could be either. And that's the tricky thing is, like, there's no longer any, like... we're gone are the days where it's like, oh, that is a next-gen game. Like, at least when it comes to graphical fidelity. Like,
you just can't see it and know it.
You can't just, like, look at it and be like, that's it. That's the one.
Right.
Like, we're getting to that plateau point where the human eye is only able to kind of process so much. Like, graphical fidelity. Like, maybe when we get to, I guess we'll get to some things that will definitely mark the next gen.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just looking at a game, it's hard to be like, oh, that could be PS4, that could be PS5.
Yeah.
Just depends on what the PS5 can do. So.
And another one of my arguments is that the PlayStation 4 Pro came out in 2016, and when it first came out, everyone was kind of like, why? This thing costs $400, and it is a half-step console. It does some 4K stuff. And if you don't have a 4K TV, it increases frame rate and it increases the graphical quality and shadows and stuff. But at the time, games have not been developed with the PlayStation 4 Pro in mind, so there weren't any games that utilized it yet. Since then, almost every game that has come out has special, like, PlayStation 4 Pro abilities, and that's now been 2 years in the running, and by the time they come out with these consoles in 21, the games are getting so much more advanced, like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn and Spider-Man. They are going to be... Let me rewind. Those games are so, like, next-gen almost already that they get a huge benefit from the Pro. So we're seeing a major benefit to having a Pro now.
Yeah.
And we didn't when it first came announced in 2016. We didn't even know, like I said, we were questioning why this thing even existed. Why would you do this? Why would you upgrade just for some 4K upgrades? But now it's getting to the point where just to even run like God of War and make it run smoothly, you need a Pro.
Yeah.
The new Spider-Man that's about to come out, like, totally utilizes the Pro, and it locks the frame rate at 30, and there's some slowdown on the original base unit. Like, and that's just base game. That's not even 4K. So we're seeing a better utilization of the next-gen hardware in the first-party studios now, and that's indicative of a new hardware cycle coming. Because, like, you need to upgrade. Okay, well, that means we're pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And then it's getting close. So dev kits and the fact that the PS4 Pro is being more utilized are my two arguments for next year.
So I had a question about half-step consoles, but
Yes.
I think we'll skip those for now because we've talked about them before. We've talked about the idea that, and you've actually hit on them multiple times already with the idea that, like, I guess just the real kind of, if you can give me the super short answer of, like, do you think they're still going to be a thing for the most part?
Consoles?
The half-step consoles.
Half-step?
Yeah.
Probably. I think we're going to hit a clear divide, PS5, Xbox next, and then there'll probably be another little half-step with that. And then after that, I don't think we'll see console generations as chalk-lined as we've seen them in the past.
So you think they'll end up being kind of more like PC gaming in the sense where it's like, oh, I'm just kind of upgrading.
Yeah, you just get the next
upgrading
thing.
what I've got. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, like cell phone plus PC hardware kind of ideas.
Sense. Yeah, cool. All right, we've touched on that. Let's talk then. What do you think the battlefields of the next console war? What are going to be the major things that are going to kind of define the next console generation and kind of give either Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo the edge going into the next generation, the next war? And who's already ahead?
Yeah, I mean, VR is the highlight of that argument. Sony's ahead, obviously, because they have one.
Yeah,
and the rest don't. I don't know how relevant things that Microsoft are doing now are going to be in the future, other than one thing, and that is a subscription service.
Yeah.
Like, everything's going that way. Spotify I'm just going to use like one example per media genre. Music, Spotify. Movies and TV, Netflix. Even MoviePass was the home theater, or the theater kind of goer subscriber thing.
Yeah.
Meals at home, Blue Apron. Like, subscribing to a clothes service to go shopping. Like, everything you can think of is a subscription service.
Yeah, you pay for basically a subscription for your cell phone because you pay for a data plan. So,
and the hardware. You pay X amount of dollars per month, and after so many months, you just get the next hardware device, and you keep paying that premium.
Yeah, it's a model that works. It's a model that people like because they know. They're
just covered.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you just don't have to think about it.
Yeah,
Here's my monthly allotment, and I just know I have this.
Yeah, I've budgeted for it, and I'm okay with paying it. So, like, give me. I'm gonna get a stable service.
Yeah,
stable is relative considering how MoviePass went, but you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't always work out. Some people think that Netflix might end up going the same way,
right?
But yeah, that's where everything seems to be going right now.
And Microsoft is right with it with that announcement of that new service they just came out with $35 a month for 2 years, and you get an Xbox One X and access to Game Pass and access to Xbox Live Gold already, all in a bundle, all in one. Digital games are increasingly taking over physical media. If you look at percentages of sales, digital media is going up all the time. Physical's coming down all the time. Like, every single iteration, every quarter they analyze the data, digital sales are creeping. They're coming. Yeah. So you take those two ideas, Microsoft is ahead in that regard. So you have VR on Sony, and you have subscription service, platforming, like games as a service kind of situation with Xbox. Yeah.
I think the two obvious battlefields, the things that they're a big deal in every console generation and probably won't ever go away are affordability and exclusives. So, like I was saying earlier, it used to be graphics. It used to be the Nintendo 64 just looked better than the PlayStation. The in my opinion, the Xbox 360 did look better than the PlayStation 3 for a long time. Yeah,
it took a while for PS3 to come up.
Yeah, and but this last generation, I think we really saw that kind of plateau moment where you're like, from the layman's point, you might be able to get those people who are like super nerdy and analyze all the textures and stuff.
Their name is Digital Foundry.
Yes, and they're great. And they have, but for the layman, you're not going to get a game and be like, oh my gosh, it's just Destiny looks so much better on my PlayStation 4, and everybody knows it. Like, no, nobody knows it. Like, it looks basically the same on an Xbox One. So that has been something that we've lost. So because graphical fidelity has kind of reached a plateau or is reaching a plateau, the big areas that are in every is okay, cool. Our consoles look the same when it comes to what the games look like. Whose is cheaper?
Yeah.
So whose is going to be more affordable?
And price has always been a game and an issue and a
big thing.
Even if something is better, just because it's more expensive and better, they don't always win.
But the thing that can offset price is exclusives. Because again, then at the end of the day, it comes down to the games.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it comes down to what games can I play on it? Because if I really, really want to play God of War 5 and it's only available on the PlayStation 4 or 5, I'm probably going to get a PlayStation. Did I say PlayStation 4 or 5?
Which is hilarious because that's what it's going to be. Like, I think that's the future of consoles where we're headed. Is it's going to be like, here's this new game, and the software is going to kind of dictate its limited. It's limited by the software. So when a new game comes out on the back, it'll be like must have PlayStation 5 or higher. So PlayStation 5 Pro, PlayStation 6, like it works for every PlayStation newer than X. I think that's where consoles are going to go.
Right.
And aside, you mentioned graphical fidelity. I didn't mention this with the gap between consoles and PCs has never been closer.
Yeah.
So that people are developing a single game and they're kind of optimizing it for each platform instead of developing it for PC and porting it to console or vice versa. Yeah. It's like we're making The Division 2 and it's going to come out on everything. And the PC version is going to have this level of 4K and these options for your graphics, and the PS4 Pro and the Xbox are going to have these options for graphics. But all in all, it's just we're developing one thing. Yeah. It's like one game for everyone.
Yeah, I mean...
That's never happened before.
Yeah, and I think I've talked about in the podcast before, and this is an idea that I've kind of kept hitting on, is like there's only so much the human... At some point, there's only so much the human brain can perceive.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, we're hitting that too.
So there's going to be a point. It's an inevitability. There's going to be a point at which PC gamers will no longer be able to say it looks better on PC. Like they're no longer going to be able to say it. There's no amount of money in the world that can supersede the human ability of perception.
Yep, they'll hit a resolution and a frame rate that are just completely...
That are just like, okay, great, you can play at 10K resolution.
At 120 FPS.
Like my 11K literally looks no different because your brain can't perceive that. Now, again, the only thing that could supersede that is the ability to actually, if we get to the point technologically where we can increase our perception and we can push the limits.
Now you're talking
brain,
about like,
but that's
biology augmentation.
I'm gonna be dead by the time that happens, so it doesn't matter. From my point of view, we're starting to kind of hit that plateau. So and yeah, like you're saying. The other big things I think that is interesting. It's going to be, at least it's definitely going to be a conversation going into the next generation, whether or not it is a lasting conversation, whether or not it's going to make a difference in the console war. I think these two things are going to be incredibly important to gamers going forward. And the first one's backwards compatibility. Like one way or another, I as a consumer, I do not want to pay for God of War again.
Right.
I want to play it. If I'm going to pay money to buy a PS5, if I'm going to sell my PS4 and scrimp and save to get a PS5, I better be able to play the library of, small as it is, but the library of games for the PS4 that I've built. Like, that's huge to me as, my library that I've, the games that I paid for through my PS4. I always get PS Plus. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
My PlayStation Plus. Like, that library better darn well be available to me and better play great and look good.
And I think that precedent has been set by Microsoft. They did that. They're like, here's all of your 360 games. They work right now. You never have to worry.
Amazing.
Your digital stuff online, it's tied to your account. It works on your Xbox One, even though you bought it on 360. And now they're even reaching back farther and doing original Xbox games. Like, that's awesome.
That's
and
amazing.
I think because of the positive feedback and the enthusiasm towards that, Sony can't release a console and draw a line in the chalk or in the sand and say, you can't play anything PS4 or like it's not going to happen. Another thing too.
Sorry, it's crazy. Just real quick, it's crazy to me that if you can hold that thought, it's crazy to me that they've done that in the first place. Because when I was young teenager, I could play my friend's PlayStation games on my PlayStation 2. So it's crazy to me that you can actually
Xbox
play
360. You can play all of their original games.
You can play Wii game. You can play GameCube games on the Wii.
And you can play Wii games on the Wii U.
Like there's backwards compatibility. It was never this sort of
except for the cartridges.
Right.
That was the only
the only
super
time when it was
division.
an absolute exactly. But even so, since we've had discs of all shapes and sizes, there's been at least some level of backwards compatibility with many console generations, and it wasn't really until what would you say, the PS3.
The jump from PS3 to PS4 was a clear divide for Sony. Microsoft took that gap by making the 360 games playable on the Xbox One. So only on Sony, which is why it looks bad for them, is there's a clear divide. And they tried to fill that gap with their PlayStation Now service, which is their digital cloud rendering streaming
Netflix
thing. So you pay a subscription and you get access to a limited selection of PS3 games.
Right, but I as a consumer, and I think I can speak for many, I don't want to pay any amount of money to play games I already own.
Right.
So
and that is has made now more loud and clear than ever because of what Microsoft
has done. Exactly. So I think that's going to be a huge. I think that's going to be a huge. Maybe it's going to be just a given. Maybe it's going to be a given that the PS5 is going to be backwards compatible. But you know what? Sony needs to go all out, and Sony needs to make the PS5 backwards compatible with everything.
And that's the funny, is what I was going to say earlier.
PS1 on.
So now that this generation of consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, use the same PC architecture that x86, there's no reason to switch back out of it because it's the common architecture across everything. And I think that alone is going to make, from now on in the future, I think and with these half-step consoles, everything's going to just be playable. With the amount of digital stuff happening and sales and money tied to your account and the ability to be able to utilize those things, and all of the architectures are the same. You're just increasing the video and the processor. That's it. Nothing else is changing fundamentally. With the console generations in the past, the PlayStation 3 had a proprietary processor called Cell that had seven cores on it. No one knew how to program for that thing. That's why it came out at $500 and $600, and all of the games were crap because EA was like, I'm not going to devote a ton of money to optimize my Fight Night game for PS3 when I can just publish it on PC and Xbox for fun, and the PS3 wouldn't be stupid because it was super hard to program for. It was not the common architecture that we have now. If you wanted to port a game to that console, you had to do a lot of work and spend a lot of money. So backwards compatibility between the PS2 and PS3 required a PS2 hardware to be plugged into the motherboard of the PS3, and that's how they did backwards compatibility. All of those issues are irrelevant now because we use a common architecture. It's all the same. So you buy a new console, you've just upgraded your graphics and your processor, and you move on. It's like that's what's going to happen going forward. So I really don't even think backwards compatibility is going to be a conversation piece going forward.
Well, I think that it's going to be how far back is
how do they want to reach
Sony willing to go. I mean, and the same honestly can be said for Nintendo. Like, Microsoft set the precedent, so like the same can be said for Nintendo. Like, is Nintendo going to either, I mean, I know it's going to be impossible to plug a Game Boy game into my Switch, like, from, that's not what I want, but Nintendo needs to realize that people want to play their games.
They have the most extensive
and
library.
They have the most extensive library, exactly. So, like, Nintendo just needs to, like, find a way to make it. That's what the promise of Virtual Console was going to be, and that's kind of flopped. So, like, they need to find some alternative way of making their games available to us.
I mean, they're jumping on the subscription bandwagon.
Yeah, they're doing
this new Switch online service. Here's 20 NES games you can play online. If they keep that up and evolving it and growing it, then they'll just keep. Nintendo's always done backwards compatibility both perfectly and poorly,
which is how they do everything. Nintendo does everything amazingly and also incredibly stupidly, and the best thing to look at is Splatoon for that. Like, amazing, just a great, wonderful shooter that's completely bucks all of the
Call of Duty, Battlefield,
Call of Duty. I love that. And yet has so stupid things, like you can't group up with your, like, stay in a team with your friends, and there's no voice chat, and you for a long time you couldn't change your guns out between
they're trying to fix all that crap, but
it's still,
that's the Nintendo way.
It's the Nintendo way.
Now we have, and I actually respect Nintendo for doing this, and I wanted them to do it with the Switch, was to just completely disconnect everything from the Wii. Like, no more Wii. Screw these Wiimote controllers and their classic controller add-ons and all these different weird configurations of how to use all these different remotes. And, like, to play a game, you had to pull out Wiimotes and connect classic controllers, but then start a game and then, like, change the nunchuck to a classic controller. All these different weird, like, just stop, put a lid on all of it, put it away, pull out this new Switch with your Joy-Cons and move on. And make a Pro controller and Joy-Cons that match it. And I think that was wise, and they did a good job with that. So I don't want backwards compatibility with my Wii stuff, oddly enough. And it's weird even saying it, because I want backwards compatibility with everything all the time. I love I'm the, like, retro guy. I love going back and playing old stuff. But I keep my old consoles. My friends and peers don't. So it's weird how I can, like, highlight lack of backwards compatibility as a good thing on the Switch, but then make it a bad thing with Sony and Microsoft.
There was one other Battlefield that I just want to briefly touch on. I don't want to spend a lot of time here because we think we could do a whole episode on this. But I do want to talk about, I think that cross-platform, Nintendo and Microsoft and Fortnite, really. At the end of the day, one title, Fortnite has made cross-platform play a huge conversation. And I've been, even before Fortnite came out, and blew up. I've been talking about cross-platform for a while. I was whining about it when Destiny came out, and how, man, I wish I could just play Destiny with my friend who's going to get it on Xbox. You know what I mean?
With the PC
or
and
get
Xbox.
it on PC, exactly. And now
weird
the conversation.
How we just talked about Call of Duty and Battlefield and Destiny and Halo and all those things. Like, well, Halo's exclusive anyway, but the other ones aren't. And they never had cross-platform ever. It was never even thought of as a thing until Fortnite. And it started it.
Yeah,
and Rocket League.
Now, granted, I have, again, I've been thinking about it and I've been wanting it. I've been wanting it forever. Just because it's so frustrating to me that like just because my friend decided to buy a different I mean, it was South Park did a great episode on it. You know what I mean? Like just because my friend decided to buy a different hardware and support a different company, like it's unfair, or not necessarily unfair, but it's frustrating that I can't play the same game with them. So I think that, you know, again, Nintendo and Microsoft playing nice in that regard because they have to.
Yeah.
Nintendo has to do every edge they can give the Switch. They have to get any third-party title they can, and what better way to do that than by saying, "Hey, like you
Minecraft
can play this.
and Fortnite."
Yep, exactly.
Cross-platform things on the Switch.
Exactly. So Sony's not playing nice in that regard is going to be a huge. It'll just be interesting to see what they do when the PS5 is announced, and this is going to be interesting to see if they hold on to that, if they clutch their pearls in that regard, or if they're willing to join the club and usher us into what I would consider a better era of gaming. Yeah.
And the weird part, the part that irks me the most is it's cross progression. It's just slightly different than cross-play. Cross-play in my mind is like you have an Xbox, I have a PlayStation, and
we can play together. Yeah,
we can't. Cross-progression is you started a file on Xbox, but it's tied to your Epic account, which is a third-party account.
Yeah,
and then you log in through your PC and you can pull that. You log into your Switch, you can pull that same account. You're leveling up and you're collecting gear on that one account across different platforms. But if you link it to Sony, it's immediately glued to them, and you can no longer access that account anymore from anywhere else.
Yeah,
so you could take your level 50, like thousands of hours of spent and hundreds of dollars later on gear and never have played on a Sony console, but you log in one time and you're stuck on Sony forever. You can never get it back. That is what Sony needs to fix more than anything else. Because if they, like the other cross-platform stuff has kind of always been there. It's like I just mentioned earlier with Call of Duty and Battlefield. It's like you can't play that anyway, so you're not really taking something out of the customer's hand. But the cross-progression, with the cross-progression issue, it's bad.
Right. Well, and I mean, but I would even say that if Microsoft allows me to play with someone who's playing on their Xbox and I can play on my Switch and we can play together, then
Sony should too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like then arguably that argument then becomes like, well, now you are taking something away from me because you're taking away my ability to play with my friends. It would be one thing if it was just a cross progression thing. Like it would be one thing if like, oh, I can pull my, you know, and then play with other Switch players on my Switch and then play with other mobile players on my mobile. Like it'd be one thing if the play was still divided, but now that the play is not divided, like it becomes more difficult to sustain that argument. And I just think of so many games that could benefit from it. Like Destiny would have benefited greatly.
It would.
Like, I might, you know, I would have been tempted to buy 2 copies of it, buy one for my PC, you know, if I could have had cross progression at the very least.
Right.
And Diablos would benefit from it.
Yeah.
Like I would love to play my like the characters that I've invested time in on the PC. I would love to be able to pull that data and play them on my Switch.
Console.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many games that could benefit from it. So cool,
man! Like every one of these things have entire topics.
I know it's great,
crazy.
But cool. Let's finish then by just sort of talking big picture predictions. What are things that you either expect to see or that you want to see from the next generation of consoles?
I don't want this at all, but I think this is where we're going. And I touched on it briefly earlier. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 2, for lack of a better name,
Nextbox. I think we agreed on Nextbox.
Nextbox are going to be clear $400, $500 consoles. I think if Microsoft comes out with a budget one, it'll probably target the $250 to $300 range. It's still going to be your PC in a box hooked up to your computer or your TV that plays video games exclusively for that company. That's going to happen in 2021, 2022 sometime. After that is what I don't want and where I see everything headed. We have the internet infrastructure improving. We're getting 5G everywhere. Fiber's expanding. We have internet in people's homes way faster and better than ever. Like that's, we have combined that with crazy successful subscription models, as I talked about earlier with Netflix and Spotify, and then the increasing digital sale percentages over physical every single year. That trend is continuing. I just feel like in the future we're going to have a tiny little Chromecast streaming box and everything's going to be digital. It's like, here's your Sony Cast, and you just plug it into your HDMI cable. It costs $30 and it hooks up to a DualShock 8 or whatever, and you have the full library of everything from PlayStation 3 through, whatever's in 2030. All accessible, all right there. Download, it's all streamed and rendered in the cloud. Supercomputing stuff happening on the back end.
Yeah,
games look and
they charge $50
a
month for that. And...
yeah, that's where I see it headed in the later future. But I think we get to enjoy one more cycle of what I love, where you go buy a box that looks amazing. You sit on your shelf and play stuff on it.
Right.
That's my prediction.
Okay, cool. I think that VR is going to be.
That's going to be huge
a big thing. Again, we talked about this in our VR episode, but I really want to see VR be the stand. You know what I mean? Like the standard. Like
basically what I said, but instead of
forget
plugging in the Chromecast to the back of your TV, you just put a headset on.
Right. Well, and again, you play essentially forget the TV.
Right. That's
you know
what I mean.
Yeah. Like essentially nothing other than the size and the fact that you need a TV really prevents a PlayStation from being portable like the Switch.
Right.
You know, obviously there's tons of things, but you know what I mean? Like essentially gaming can get to a point where like they can sell you a box, you can hook it up, and it doesn't matter if you have a TV because you put your headset on, you play the games that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it doesn't
with
matter.
Global 5G
it doesn't matter
Wi-Fi,
the size of your TV when you've got the TV right in front of your face.
When you're in the TV
exactly,
world.
when the TV is right there. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that, like, I can see if, you know, again, there's a lot of ifs and there's a lot of question marks, but if they can get VR right, and if the culture kind of accepts and embraces that style of play, then it might not be the next gen. It might not be this next gen, but it might be the gen after that. It might be the Generation 10 consoles,
the 2028.
But they're going to be. They're going to be VR consoles. They're not going to be. They're not going to be a console that has VR. They're not going to be a console that has a VR option.
Get even crazier.
They're going to be.
Think
VR.
about this. Google's making your headset. You just go buy a Google headset and you log in and you paid for a Sony subscription that allows you access to Sony's rooms.
Yep.
You paid for a Microsoft subscription that allows you access to Microsoft's rooms.
Yep.
And they don't play together because we still have the same issue we have today. But it's funny because like you just take the hardware out of it. Like,
yeah.
Researching and developing hardware is so expensive.
Right.
Why even pay for it if you don't need it?
Right. Yeah.
From Sony and Microsoft's and Nintendo's point of view, like why pay for?
Well, and from
hardware?
from the consumer's point of view too, why buy a piece of hardware when I can essentially stream it all on the thing that I have to have anyways, which is a computer. You know what I mean? Like there is no there's no reason other than business reasons why I can't play Breath of the Wild on my PC.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like on the thing that I already have. So yeah, again,
and there's also the issue of like internet isn't everywhere right now, and so the console boxes allow people without internet at all to have something to play, which has always been the case.
But eventually, that's going to be
right, and that's why I had to highlight the advent of like 5G and how Wi-Fi is getting global, and we already have more public spots in cities and urban areas than we've ever had. So internet is everywhere if you want it. Yeah.
We're going to link off to some resources for you guys if you're interested in this further. There's a Wikipedia article, of course. Wikipedia, the great source of information, the great brain of the world. And there's a Quora article, a Guardian article, and a Polygon article that Termite here did some lovely research with.
I did.
And you can read those for more information and to kind of get a sense as to where we got our ideas for today, to kind of flush out the conversation in your head. But that's our episode for the day.
Tell us what you guys think.
Tell us what you think. What do you think about the next generation of consoles?
When is it coming? Why?
Yeah, who, what, where, when, how. Like,
tell us who you think the players involved will be, where you see the console industry going.
Yeah, what like industry that doesn't harken back to our DLC, what industry that doesn't have a console would you love to see just break in and be like, surprise, like go to E3, be like, why does Google have a setup there?
Yeah.
Surprise, we're coming back, or we're coming in.
It's so funny, we never even mentioned PC. So tell us where you think PC fits into all this.
Yeah.
And what that looks like.
Well, but PC doesn't have generations.
I know, they just upgrade the hardware.
Just upgrade the hardware and all the games are on Steam.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So tell us your thoughts. Join in the conversation. If they want to conversate with us, Termite, where can they find us?
You can find us at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our main landing website that has links to Google Play, iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to find us directly at those social media platforms, it's at 80bitpodsmash.
Yeah, awesome. Then we will see you next week, then, I guess.
All right. Have a good week.
Nothing more needs to be said. Bye, y'all.